For hundreds of years, the children of Israel lived in Egypt. They flourished and multiplied, becoming a mighty nation. But their prosperity stirred fear in the heart of a new Pharaoh, a ruler who did not remember how Joseph had once saved Egypt from famine. Pharaoh, seeing their strength as a threat, decreed harsh oppression upon them, forcing them into bitter bondage under harsh taskmasters. Despite this, the Israelites multiplied, and Pharaoh's fear grew. Pharaoh escalated his cruelty, issuing a horrifying decree. Every newborn Hebrew boy was to be cast into the Nile. The people cried out to God in their anguish, longing for deliverance. The birth of Moses. During this time, a Hebrew woman named Jochebed, in defiance of Pharaoh's decree, gave birth to a son. Knowing the danger he faced, she hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she placed her baby in a waterproof basket and set it gently on the Nile, entrusting him to God's protection. The basket floated among the reeds until it was discovered by Pharaoh's daughter. Touched by the baby's cries, she decided to adopt him, naming him Moses, meaning drawn out of the water. His sister Miriam, who had been watching from a distance, bravely approached and arranged for their mother to nurse him until he was old enough to live in the palace. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's court, surrounded by wealth and privilege, but he never forgot his heritage. As a young man, he saw the suffering of his people and was deeply troubled. One day he witnessed an Egyptian taskmaster brutally beating a Hebrew slave. Moses flees to Midian, struck and killed the Egyptian, burying him in the sand. When Pharaoh learned of the incident, he sought to kill Moses. Fearing for his life, Moses fled to the land of Midian, leaving behind the only life he had known. In Midian, Moses found refuge and a new purpose. He helped the daughters of Jethro, a priest of Midian, draw water for their flocks. Grateful for his kindness, Jethro welcomed Moses into his family, giving him his daughter Zipporah in marriage. God hears Israel's groaning, throws flocks and finding peace in the quiet hills. Yet deep in his heart, he could not forget his people's suffering. Meanwhile, the cries of the Israelites rose to heaven. Their groaning under the weight of slavery moved God to action. God calls Moses the burning bush, Isaac and Jacob, and determined to deliver his people from bondage. One day, as Moses tended sheep on Mount Horeb, he noticed a strange sight, a bush that burned with fire but was not consumed. Curious, he approached, and from the midst of the flames, he heard a voice calling his name. "Moses! Moses!" Startled, Moses replied, "Here I am." God spoke to him, saying, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I have seen the affliction of my people in Egypt and heard their cry. I have come down to deliver them and bring them to a land flowing with milk and honey. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt." Moses was overwhelmed. "Who am I to go to Pharaoh? What if they do not believe me?" God reassured him, "I will be with you. This will be the sign. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship me on this mountain." Still hesitant, Moses expressed his doubts. Moses given powerful signs. Faith. He turned Moses' staff into a serpent, made his hand leprous and then whole, and promised the ability to turn water into blood. Even then Moses protested, saying, "I am slow of speech." God responded firmly, "Who made man's mouth? Who makes him mute, deaf, seeing, or blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Go, and I will be with your mouth and teach you what to say." Finally, God appointed Aaron, Moses' brother, to be his spokesperson. Together, they would confront Pharaoh and lead the Israelites to freedom. Encouraged by God's promises, Moses returned to Egypt, his heart set on the mission ahead. The journey was fraught with challenges. Moses and Aaron stood before Pharaoh declaring, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, let my people go, that they may hold a feast to me in the wilderness." But Pharaoh's heart was hardened, and he refused, increasing the burdens on the Israelites instead. Despite this setback, Moses trusted in God's plan. Through a series of miraculous signs and plagues, God would demonstrate his power and compel Pharaoh to release his people. As Moses walked resolutely toward the unfolding of God's plan, the stage was set for a mighty deliverance. The God who called him would equip him, and the promise of freedom for the children of Israel drew nearer with each step. The story concludes with a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. Thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for the next chapter in this incredible story. See you soon.